Just a couple of the things that specific things that we help businesses do. Site selection, if you are looking for space in the city, we can help you identify some commercial or retail property spaces that might work for your city. We help you coordinate with city staff for plan reviews and things like that. We can get you demographic, real estate developments, trends, information on that if you're looking to build a business case. We can help refer you to financing partners. I don't have financing for you, but we can put you in touch with some of the bankers, some of the other private lenders, some of the state and county agencies that might be able to help provide you with financing as you're looking for that. We can also, if you're looking to hire folks, we can refer you to the workforce development folks within the county who can help you to hire the right people. We also work with a lot of the internship programs at the high schools and at Montgomery College, so can help you find some interns if that's the way you're looking to go. Again, we can refer you to a lot of folks. There's a lot of networking and referral that goes on. Certainly the Rockville Chamber is one of those entities that we are always referring new businesses in Rockville to as a way to get to know more of the business community here locally. And one of our major initiatives is, you may have heard of before, is the Maryland Women's Business Center, which is an initiative that focuses specifically on helping small and startup women-owned businesses to get out there. Either if you're currently have your business in your home, how do you get to that next phase where you're either hiring a person or moving into some commercial space or simply helping you to grow the revenues for your businesses. We offer workshops and seminars. We do one-on-one business counseling and have a number of resources for small startup companies. Those services are available to men as well. But 90% of the folks who take advantage of the Women's Business Center are women and women-owned businesses. So a lot of things we have going on, but again, we are happy to help any of you who might have any questions at any point in time. You can find us on our website, rockvilleready.org. We're also all over social media and always love having more followers. So we do a monthly e-newsletter blast that's full of a lot of great information, as the Chamber does a Tuesday e-newsletter with a lot of their information. So if you're not on our mailing list, make sure you sign up or get us our cards. Actually, we've got your information because you signed up through the Chamber. So guess what? You're going to be getting a lot more information from us soon. So thanks, everybody, for being here. I think you're going to learn a lot. Please take advantage of the city staff that you're going to have here and ask a lot of questions. That's what they're here for. So thanks, everybody, and I'll turn it over to Harmon.
Well, good morning, everyone. And just a quick announcement in relation to today. All of you signed with the expectation of having a purchasing department for this first session. There was a scheduling conflict with the department. They're doing interviews today, so they couldn't be here today. So we have moved that session to the 11th. So please come join us on the 11th. We're going to have the purchasing department. We have substituted the purchasing department today with information for you in relation to the Neighborhood Resources Division and our conflict mediation program. So we'll be talking about that at the end. So with that said, I would like to handle to our staff who are going to be talking about the city in general, and would like to handle this to Susan Swift.
Good morning. How are you all? Got coffee? Okay. My name is Susan Swift. I'm the director of the long name Department of Community Planning and Development Services. In translation, that's planning, building, and zoning, essentially, and a myriad of other little but very important things. I'm going to give you a quick overview of our department and the things that we do that you may be interested in. And then I have some compatriots that are going to talk in more detail about a few of our bigger more current projects. So I'm going to go over a little about what we do, which relates to this photo. How many people have been around Rockville long enough? Here, I'll get over here. To, no, I can. To know what this photo is. Staff doesn't count, Tammy. Okay, what is it? Yes. So what our department does relates a lot to the transformation. I think I didn't bring the after picture, but I hope everyone has been to Rockville Town Square and knows that, thank goodness, it doesn't look like that anymore. I don't think, as a planner, I don't think someone could have designed something so unfriendly and uninviting if they tried, but so a lot of what our department does has to do with the transformation of those areas. And actually, I've only been here 5 years, so I cannot take credit. My predecessor had a lot to do with that project, but hopefully there will be others. So our department has 4 divisions. We go from our management and housing division. We look ahead at trends and needs in the community in the future. The long-range planning division uses those trends to plan for the future. Our zoning and development review division reviews new projects, new development, site plans that come into the city as applications from either developers, business people like you, homeowners as well. And then our inspection services division, which reviews for building and fire safety, making sure that everything meets the building codes and fire safety codes. So we do everything from the long-range planning to very regulatory, is your sprinkler hooked up correctly? So we have a lot of major projects, and what I'm going to do is, as I said, I'll give an overview, and then I'll introduce a couple of other people, and they'll get into more details. We have some major projects that we're working on, and some very new ones for a while, and Andy Gunning, our Assistant Director, is going to talk about the Rockville Pike Plan, which our Planning Commission has been reviewing, along with a new zoning district that would go with that plan. He'll get into more detail about that. He'll also discuss the city's role and the city's 2 routes for the proposed bus rapid transit system that the county is talking about, and 2 routes will come into downtown Rockville. He's going to talk about that as well, and how you can learn more about both of those topics. And then we may also be taking a look at our downtown plan that was adopted several years ago, because the BRT, when it comes to the metro station or downtown Rockville, may actually create the need to change that plan. So some very exciting things going on, and probably some good ways for you to keep track and get involved. And then we have something that we have just kicked off, and I will hand these out so you have the web link. This is just a copy of this great poster, which I love. The city just kicked off, and our department kind of is the lead guinea pig, Engage Rockville. It's a new online tool that the city has purchased, a software that is another resource for us to hear what you all want with the future of the community, what you would like to see. It's a way for the community to communicate with each other and with the city. So it has many different aspects. We can do surveys on Engage Rockville. We can have people rank parks, or ask budget questions, or a lot of different ways that we can engage the community more, hear from you, hear what are the community's priorities, but also that you all can see what others are saying. So I encourage you, it's just been kicked off 2 weeks ago, and we're interested to see, there's some questions that if any of you were involved in the Rockville Summit last fall, the fall before. We've continued some of the surveys that we did there, and those are some of the first questions on here. So I think it's very interesting to see what people are saying about the community and about the future community and what they would like to see in Rockville. So we hope you do more with that. We have a lot, as I mentioned, we have a lot of we have a lot of projects that are being constructed. You've probably seen a lot of cranes around town. Our department and Ray Obraki, our chief of that division, will talk about that, some specific questions. But there are a lot of things. The Duval project that is under construction right downtown will be the Choice Hotel, headquarters hotel, retail, multifamily above. We have 3 big projects that have been approved near the Twin Brook Metro in the last year and a half. Again, retail, almost all of them have retail on the ground floor proposed, and apartments or condos above. We have Upper Rock, which, if a lot of people, I think, don't know, it's in the city limits, but it's right off of Shady Grove and I-270. Some very modern designed, funky apartments, some neat architecture, and they've built several buildings and are building their last few buildings up there. And then for anybody who's noticed, Ethan Allen and the other 2 furniture stores that were all on one block, the names of which I can't remember. They've just been demolished in the last month, so we'll be seeing a new project there as well, retail and also multifamily. So a lot's going on here. Our permitting and planners and inspectors are all very busy. And again, we'll have an opportunity to talk about that later. In addition to what's going on, we're also, and the regulations that we administer every day, from site plans to planning, zoning, building, fire, we're also trying to streamline our permitting procedures and reinvent some of them. So last year, we worked very closely with the Chamber and Andrea Jolly and a committee, and we did a lot of streamlining to our sign code, so that we eliminated virtually almost all signs that had to go to the sign review board, so that the staff, Tammy Dietrich, can issue the permits a lot quicker without approval from the sign review board. We made a lot of other tweaks, making it more flexible to show logos and use different colors. So we worked on that. There's another phase of improvement probably coming your way soon, but we've taken the sign review board cases down to almost nothing. They've hardly met this year. So I think you can get sign permits a lot quicker. We're working on, I'm chairing a committee to reinvent our site plan review process, and we'll be probably rolling out some of our ideas. We've brainstormed about 40 different major ideas for big changes, and we'll probably take a good year to implement, but I think you'll be seeing some announcements about some real changes in having a less complicated and hopefully a little shorter site plan review process. And then for building permits, Ray will talk about this a little more as well. We've just started to fast track some of our smaller permitting requests, for very small projects or isolated small permits. We're attempting to do online permitting for very small things like furnaces and plumbing, not projects, but specific permits, and doing a lot of other tweaking to shorten the process for permits and inspections. That's kind of the overview before I lose my voice. The other people in our department who are going to speak to you, Manisha Tiwari is our planner and expert on demographics. She's going to give you a PowerPoint presentation kind of giving you an overview of Rockville by the numbers, a lot of demographic business information about the city as a whole. Andy Gunning, who's our assistant director, he's going to give you an overview of the Rockville Pike Plan and the bus rapid transit efforts that are coming your way soon. And then Ray Obraki, who is our chief of inspection services, is going to give you an overview of some important facts that may help you when you need to know when you need permits and how you can get them more quickly if you do expand your business or relocate your business. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Manisha Tiwari, and we hopefully will have time for Q&A afterwards.
Thank you, Susan, and good morning, everybody. And I'd like to reiterate what Harmon said. Thank you all for coming here this early in the morning and being a part of this presentation. I'm Manisha Tiwari. I work in long-range planning in community planning and development services. And I'll be talking about the existing conditions in Rockville, and also talk about some past and future growth trends as they relate to population, housing, and economy in the city. The sources that I have used are primarily the census and also the work that we do in coordination with the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments. This is the city of Rockville, located in the Washington metropolitan area. We are about 12 miles from Washington, D.C. The city is about 13.5 square miles. We have, as you know, we have great attributes. We have great schools. We have 3 metro stations within the city, and we also have a MARC station. We have great access to major transportation networks like I-270 and now the ICC. So all these factors have contributing to making Rockville what it is today, and a very desirable place to live in and grow your business in. Next slide. This is the city of Rockville. Also, there's a map at the entrance that shows what is within and outside the city limits. Rockville area is pretty large, but the city boundary is, like I said, 13 square miles, and the map shows what is within the city and what's outside the city limits. And now we talk about demographics. According to the 2010 census, Rockville's population was 61,209. Rockville is the 3rd largest incorporated place in the state, behind Baltimore and Frederick City. The cities of Gaithersburg and Bowie are the 3rd and the 4th largest in the city, in Maryland, I'm sorry. Just to provide a brief history, Rockville was incorporated as a city in 1860, and at that time the area was 134 acres, and at that time our population was 365 people. The first big change in the town status began in 1873 when the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad station was built in the city, and it brought trains from Washington, D.C., and that increased trade and commerce. And the city grew in size gradually by small and large annexations. We had, if you click on it, yeah. We had several annexations over the years. Croydon Park, West End were annexed as a part of mass annexations in 1896. Largest annexation was Twin Brook when 2,200 acres were added into the city. Congressional Shopping Center in 1950s was an airport, and now it's a shopping center. Gradually, the city grew, and some of the most recent annexations include King Farm, which was 440 acres, and Falls Grove, which is 254 acres. This is the city right now, and next slide. And Rockville gradually grew from an agriculturally oriented community. Can you go to the next slide? To a relatively cosmopolitan city. Rockville's density today qualifies it as an urban area. As discussed in the previous slides, after the growth of 1950s and 60s, Rockville's population stabilized for almost 4 decades, and from the 70s to the 2000, and we had a major growth spurt again from 2000 to 2010, which was primarily because of the development in King Farm and Falls Grove and Town Center and all around the city. We grew about 29% in that time frame. As of most recent estimates, our population was 63,244, and our population is very diverse. 34% of our residents are foreign-born, and out of a foreign-born population, 14% are citizens and 19% were non-citizens. 84% of our foreign population speaks a language other than English at home. Next slide. About 50% of our foreign-born population is from Asia, followed by 30% from Latin America. Next slide. People from different ethnicities are increasing in Rockville. This chart shows how the ethnic population has increased over a period of years. In 1980, our Asian population was 5% of the total population, whereas in 2010 it was over 20%. And same for our Hispanic population, we had almost 5% of our population in 1980 was Hispanic, which has increased to 14% in 2010. And our African American population is relatively stable. This is a population pyramid showing the changes from 2000 to 2010. Our population has increased in all age cohorts, and about a third of our city residents are 50 years of age and older. The under 18 segment of population is relatively stable at about 22%. Our median age is 38.7, which is slightly higher than Washington region, where the median age is about 35. And our population is generally older as compared to the region, and this trend is expected to continue. As shown in this chart, all age groups are expected to grow in numbers, but the oldest age group will continue to increase steadily in percentage. The number of residents 65 and older was 3% in 1960, and right now it's about 12%, and this is expected to continue. And in 1940, we expect the trend to be the same, and our population of 65 and older is expected to be around 17%. Now moving on to housing. The city has about 25,199 housing units. Our vacancy rate is low, about 6%. And Rockville has a very diverse housing stock, and that is changing. as shown, as you can see in this chart, detached are the single-family homes, attached are the townhomes, and others include different categories like multifamily, condominium, senior housing, and all other categories. In 1960, detached housing was 62%, which is, as a percentage, it has gone down to 47%. And our attached and multifamily homes are increasing. And this trend is expected to continue because in Rockville and also in the county, in the next 20 years, in our projections, we have 75% of new growth is in the multifamily or the condominium development. Also, another trend that we're noticing is that the home ownership rates are dropping. In 1990, there were more than 66% of the there were more than 66% of homeowners in the city, and that trend has gone down to about 59%. It's So it just points out to a trend that many households are renting in the city. It's either by choice or by necessity. And this is an overall trend, which is in the city, in Montgomery County, the state, and United States, and nationally. The household sizes are decreasing. Majority of our households are 2% households, which is 32%, followed by 1% households, which is 27%. The rents are relatively high in Rockville. The average rent was $1,675 compared to $1,476 in county, and our vacancy rates are relatively low. This slide talks about the median sale price of all units in Rockville. In 2013, our median sale price for all units was $430,000, which has kind of gone up from 2009, where we had housing issues, and it's relatively stable. It's gone down a little bit from 2012, but it's a median sale price of all units. It's probably because there were more newer homes sold in 2012, and I don't know if it points to a specific trend. We don't think the house prices are going down in the city. Next, we talk about education, income, and poverty. We have a very educated workforce. Approximately 61% of our residents have a bachelor's or advanced degree, which is as compared to 28% nationally. Employment in the city as a whole is significantly more concentrated in government, professional, and business and management sectors, followed by education and financial services. Our unemployment rates are relatively low in Rockville, and both in Rockville and Montgomery County. Unemployment rates had peaked in 2010 to about 5.8%, but have since fallen down to about 5% in 2012. Rockville's median household income is fairly high in the region. Our median income was $97,667. It's about 84% higher than the national average. Rockville and other Washington area jurisdictions are relatively affluent, with some areas having a median income of more than $100,000. we do have a substantial amount of our population below poverty level. According to the most recent census estimates, 5.5% of our population was below poverty level. As defined by census, a poverty threshold is about 22,314 for a family of 4 in this area. And poverty level affects different categories of people at different levels. Female householder families tend to have a higher poverty rate than others, and then followed by seniors. In the next few slides, we're going to talk about Rockville forecast. As I mentioned earlier, Rockville prepares its own household population and jobs forecast. We develop a forecast in coordination with Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments. We work with other jurisdictions to come up with a combined forecast that are used regionally for various purposes, like the air quality modeling and to meet the EPA standards, and also to develop long-range plans for the region. And our most recent projections were done in 2013. They were adopted by the COG board, and they show that the city of Rockville is expected to grow about 35% in population from 2010 to 2014. And the whole region as a whole is expected to grow. This slide talks about our employment trends. These are jobs in place, which shows the jobs that are in the city of Rockville. It could be people from all over the place. These are people who come and work in Rockville. In 2010, we had more jobs than people. Our jobs, we had 74,000 jobs and 61,000 residents. And the regional employment is expected to continue to be concentrated in the inner suburbs, which Rockville is a part of, and we're expected to grow 41% from today to 2040. And again, most of our jobs, like we stated, were in office sector, and as you know, we have a lot of government jobs, and we have a lot of county jobs. So that trend is expected to continue with respect to office jobs as well. And the next slide shows where our jobs are expected to be concentrated. They are mostly in the Rockville Pike corridor, in the Goody area, in our new development areas in Falls Grove, King Farm, Research Boulevard area, Tower Oaks Boulevard. Rockville is a city of neighborhoods, and that's what contributes to our quality of life and our stability. And we don't think that's going to change. All the jobs are expected to be concentrated around the corridors, not in the established neighborhoods. As seen in the slide, this is where our mixed-use zoning areas are, and that's where we expect new development to be as well. And in conclusion, we expect that there will be about 21,000 additional people by 2040. We expect to have 10,300 additional housing units and 32,000 new jobs, and we have about 2,800 acres to build new units and new jobs. And that concludes my presentation.
Just to move this along, I think Manisha will be available afterwards if you have more questions at the end, and I'm going to introduce Andy Gunning, who's going to talk about the bus rapid transit and the the Rockville Pike Plan. And I have some brochures up here about different programs that our department handles: historic preservation, affordable housing, and then I have a map that I'll put at the back that you can see all the development projects that we have ongoing. We can certainly post this, but Manisha's presentation comes from the strategic scan that's on our website. That's even more than what she presented, with all the great graphics. So that kind of information is up on our webpage for our department. Mm-hmm.
Okay, as Susan mentioned, my name is Andy Gunning. I'm the Assistant Director for Community Planning and Development Services, or CPDS, and going to talk just briefly about the Rockville Pike Plan, which has been going through a lengthy planning process over the past couple of years, and is with our Planning Commission. They're hopefully soon going to make a recommendation to our Mayor and Council, who has final approval on master plans. And then I'm going to talk about the countywide bus rapid transit study that's underway that you really should know about. That's more of a long-term vision. Nothing's going to get built in the next couple of years, but a lot of things are happening now as far as planning for that you all should be aware of and might have chances to get involved with, because I know the county is going to set up various study groups where they want input from residents, from the business community, and other stakeholders as they plan that system out. And then, as Susan mentioned, I'll talk a little bit about what's happening in the town center area, because there's a lot of stuff going on with the bus rapid transit plan and how it impacts, potentially impacts our town center. On the Rockville Pike Plan, just out of curiosity, does anybody own or operate a business on Rockville Pike currently? Okay, one. Anybody work on Rockville Pike in addition to her? A couple. Anybody shop on Rockville Pike on a Saturday afternoon and can attest to the traffic? And as Yogi Berra, the Yankee great, once said, nobody goes there anymore, it's too crowded. And we kind of get that feeling on the Pike sometimes. So we know that it's incredibly economically viable, and it's a major economic generator, not just for the city, but countywide and even region-wide in some respects. But it's got its challenges. I mean, obviously it has a lot of traffic on the Pike, and I'm not going to stand up here and tell you that we're going to fix all the traffic problems on Rockville Pike. There's so much travel that comes into the region that uses that's trying to pass through to Bethesda and other locations, and that's not going to stop. But there's things we can do to help mitigate the traffic a little bit. But obviously a lot of traffic considerations, a lot of curb cuts along the Pike that kind of create a lot of friction points, a lot of access points in and out of shopping centers. So when you have turning movements, that creates a lot of conflict up and down the Pike. It's not very safe for pedestrians. We don't have continuous sidewalks that go up and down the Pike. And I don't know that I've ever seen a bike rider on the Pike lately trying to commute to work. I don't know that you'd want to try to cycle along Rockville Pike. So it's very economically viable, but has a lot of challenges. And these are the kind of things we're trying to deal with our Pike Plan. And I think I've got a graphic that shows just basically what our extent of the study of the plan area is for our portion of Rockville Pike in the city of Rockville. Basically, the southern end, it starts around Twin Brook Parkway and Rollins Avenue, basically just north of the Trader Joe's shopping center, and then extends north into just short of the town center area. Basically stops at Richard Montgomery Drive, just as you're coming into almost reaching the town center area. So it's about a 2-mile stretch, and it's like I said, it's been under study now for a couple of years, and basically what we're doing is coming up with a vision for what we want it to look like in the future when redevelopment happens. We're not compelling anybody to do anything. If you own a business, operate a business there today, or own property on the Pike, you're not required to do anything. But as redevelopment happens on that corridor, we want a better vision for how we want that to operate as far as the transportation network and as far as land use and development on either side of it. So it's really going to be driven as individual development projects come in. So it includes a number of components. And okay, so Harmon's got the next slide. It's got transportation components, and we'll allude to that briefly. The slide that's up here now basically shows the existing travel lanes, the 3 travel lanes in either direction would stay in place, but we're looking at building a better network. And on the side, if you can move the cursor to the right, along there we have a whole series of access roads or service drives that would service the Pike as well. And right now we have kind of an informal network where you're trying to get from property to property. There are some connections in place, And we have all the easements in place for the most part where we can formalize those access drives so you can get from property to property without having to get back on the pike and then drive a block and then get back on to the next shopping center that you're trying to go to. So the plan basically formalizes those drives along that portion of the pike. And actually that's a great graphic, which shows it a little bit, or much better. Sure. So basically access drives, I'm sorry, there we go. With some on-street parking that's kind of teaser parking adjacent to the properties as they redevelop. We're planning for bike lanes, multi-directional bike lanes along there as well, so cyclists finally have dedicated lanes, and wider sidewalks for a better pedestrian experience, which we currently, like I said, don't have today. So those are some of the main features along the access drive. We're also planning for a better network outside of the access, and I don't really have a map that shows that. Take that back. The overall plan shows that, and these dotted lines don't actually exist right now, but this is basically the rest of the street network that we need to help kind of augment the pike and make it work a little bit better. As redevelopment happens, we see the need for a better network and shorter blocks and just more connections so you can get from block to block or property to property without having to come back onto the pikes. We just would plan for a more complete network as properties do redevelop in that area. Among the more noteworthy connections would be Jefferson Street on the west side of the pike, basically stops before you get up to Woodmont Country Club. So as properties along that portion of the stretch redevelop, we can see a connection going through for Jefferson, so you have more options to stay off the pike and continue up to Wooten. Another connection would be the Fleet Street connection further to the north from Wooten up toward RM High School. Doesn't exist right now, but again, it's another connection that would help the overall circulation. And also Chapman on the southern end of the pike down toward the metro station. And other connections as well, like I said, as properties redevelop along the pike. But without a plan like this in place, we really can't require those or make those connections to happen. We're operating under an older plan that really doesn't anticipate those kinds of improvements. The other major transportation feature, and if you can skip to the next slide, would be bus rapid transit that the county is planning that would presumably run down the middle of the pike. That's kind of the current plan right now as we envision it in the draft plan. And I'll talk about this a little bit more, but that could be a real game changer. It would augment what we have in place as far as the metro system and provide more connectivity and better options with another rapid transit system that would service properties that front on the pike. Just a few words about redevelopment options, and probably the best graphic is the one that's on the easel there. The development that's along the pike today is really kind of characterized as strip shopping centers that are pushed back away from the street with a lot of parking in front. And the area that those properties developed, that was kind of acceptable, and that's what we allowed in our zoning ordinance, and that's what we had in our plans. But it really doesn't provide a very good pedestrian experience with buildings pushed so far back, and really encourages, again, that you drive from property to property. So the plan shows that buildings would, as they redevelop, they would come up closer to the street frontage and actually be built along a build-to line. And we're looking at encouraging a mix of uses, and in some cases it's required that you have a mix if you're going to go with a multi-story building, especially down closer to the Twin Brook Metro Station. Single story would have to be non-residential with residential on top, presumably. But requires certain design features like that just to provide a better pedestrian experience and really respond to the market that we're seeing that's changing out there. We're not planning anything that looks like you would see down in the White Flint portion of Rockville Pike, where you have about a 16 or 18 story building across from the White Flint Mall, the North Bethesda marketplace. That's not in our DNA to see that kind of height or that kind of density in Rockville, but more in scale with what you see with that diagram on the easel, kind of closer to what you see in town center. 5 to 6 stories. In some cases around the Twin Brook Metro Station, you can go higher, up to 10 stories, but at a much better scale that takes advantage of the transit opportunities that we have currently in place with the Metro and that may come with the bus rapid transit system. So that's just a real quick overview of what's happening with the Pike Plan. Let me see if there's anything else I should mention there. Like I said, our Planning Commission is wrapping it up, and they'll make a recommendation. Hopefully they're going to wrap it up soon and make a recommendation that goes to our Mayor and Council for the final decision. And they'll hold a series of public hearings, or at least a public hearing, and open up the public record again once they accept it, which will be later this year. And you can certainly stay tuned, and we'll let you know when that happens. You'll definitely want to kind of pay attention to that and provide comments either through the chamber or through Ready, and kind of stay tuned there. Shifting gears now to the bus rapid transit system, and if you want to jump ahead, this is really a county initiative that they've been looking at for the past couple of years, and really looking at, kind of speaks to some of the numbers that Manisha was presenting, kind of looking at where we're going population growth-wise and what our travel needs are to try to get around a pretty congested Montgomery County. And it's ironic, we have among the best schools in the nation in Montgomery County, but we have among the worst traffic in the nation too. So they're looking at ways to provide additional options to move people without having to build a lot of roadways and highways. We're never going to be able to build enough roadways to move ourselves in our individual cars. So they're looking at a balanced transportation system, and one that's cost effective, one that we could actually afford to build and people could afford to actually use it as well. So they've been exploring this concept of bus rapid transit over the past couple of years, and it culminated in a plan that was adopted by the county council back in November. It's basically a conceptual plan that identifies 10 of these corridors countywide. And just to give you describe some of the features of what bus rapid transit is, it's basically a high capacity transit system that operates a little bit like light rail, but it's not as fixed. I mean, light rail, obviously you're building rails in the ground. Bus rapid transit, ideally it runs in a dedicated travel lane, but it's not on a rail, obviously. So it's a little bit more flexible from that standpoint. Tends to run about half the price of what it would cost to build a light rail system, so much more cost effective. More flexible, I mentioned. It tends to be, if we build it and operate it properly, it's competitive with what it would take if you're in your car trying to get from point A to point B, a similar kind of distance. And there's a couple of features that kind of add to that kind of rapid portion of BRT. If it's in a dedicated lane, it's out of the congested travel lanes, typically has off-board fare collection. You pay before you get on the bus, so it's not like a regular bus where you get on and you pay the driver or pay the, swipe your card as you get on. So it's a little bit faster from that standpoint. Typically has signal priority preemption, where if it comes up to a traffic light and it's stopped with all the other traffic, often the bus would get a green before the rest of the traffic gets a green, so they can continue on sooner than regular cars can. And tends to provide real traveler information updates, sort of like at the metro. When you're in the station, you can find out when the next train is coming. Same thing with the BRT. You're at a station that's similar to a light rail station. It'll tell you next bus is coming in 2 minutes. So it has some different operational aspects like that make it a little bit more user-friendly and a little bit faster than if you were in your car, and much faster than if you were in a regular bus. So the county's been planning this past couple of years, and they have 10 corridors throughout the county. Pretty much, it's going to be hard to see here. Actually, flip to the next slide. I think I've got one that shows it a little bit easier to follow. This kind of looks like the Metro rail map, but with the BRT network as adopted by the county council. And I'm not going to talk about all the corridors out there, but 3 of them are of particular interest to us in Rockville. And they have 2 basically on Maryland 355 or Rockville Pike, one that comes up on the south portion, along the portion where we're doing our Rockville Pike plan, and the other segment, I guess, goes from the town center area up north through Rockville, and then continues actually all the way up to Clarksburg. And it's tied in with, I don't know if you're familiar with the Corridor Cities Transitway, or the CCT Bus Rapid Transit Plan, which started off as light rail and is now Bus Rapid Transit. But basically it augments that plan as well. And the other segment within the city of Rockville is Veers Mill Road, basically from the Rockville Town Center to the Wheaton Metro Center. So we're following these very closely, and yeah, let's take a look at that one. So it has the potential to really benefit us, benefit our residents, benefit workers that come into Rockville, because it gives them another travel option, expands markets for you all, people trying to come to the Pike on a Saturday afternoon and it's really congested. You would have another option, when we see the bus rapid transit system actually being built. But there are things that we're concerned about that we want to make sure we can get in front of. And that is the fact that we have 3 major lines, 2 on 355 and 1 on Veers Mill Road, that would come together in our town center area right by the metro station. It's all going to come together at the metro hub, because it makes sense to have all these transfers available for different transit types of service between metro, rail, metro bus, ride-on bus, MARC trains, and whatever else might be happening down there with bike shares and other operations. So these would all come together in our town center area around the metro station. We can all attest to how bad traffic is now in town center, where you have East Middle Lane and Park Road coming into 355. Then we have the metro station, and then a little further south we have our mixing bowl, where Veers Mill comes into 355 at a very odd angle. So we're dealing with bad geometry there, and then Veers Mill continues on and becomes Maryland 28 or Jefferson Street. So it's an odd intersection with our mixing bowl. And it's a challenge today. So trying to add three major bus rapid transit routes with dedicated lanes on top of that, we're a little bit concerned about how that might flow. So we're getting in front of that now to see what kind of opportunities would we have to really make that work much more effectively without messing up traffic any further, and allow the bus rapid transit portion to come in and out of our town center. So we're just now beginning a study to see what exists out there today, how wide of right-of-way do we have to be able to work with. Looking at big, bold options out there too. If we were to do some kind of separation where if you want to head north on Rockville Pike and don't want to stop in the town center area, maybe you're going up to Montgomery College, you're coming up 355 or on Veers Mill. Is there a way to go basically under that congested area and continue on and pop up out of the underground tunnel about a half a mile to the north? Maybe that's the kind of the Connecticut Avenue and DuPont Circle option that we would have in our town center area. That's a big, bold, ambitious, probably billion-dollar plan, but I mean, we're looking at all options kind of in between as well to see how we might make this area function a little bit better. We have a current plan. Our town center master plan basically calls for an expanded pedestrian promenade, because the pedestrian bridge from the current metro station to town center, it's really in an odd location, and a lot of people feel it's not safe. It just doesn't function very well. So we have in our currently adopted plan a plan for a promenade that would expand that and would have sort of an wider overpass over Rockville Pike, which we're gonna take a look at as well. We're not sure that that's going to function. That was actually planned before the bus rapid transit portion in the plan came into being. So we're going to look at that option as well. So I think those were the main things I was going to cover. Covered a lot of ground. I'm running out of time. And I'll stick around afterwards also for question and answer period as well. But with that, let me turn it over to Ray Obraki. Ray's our Chief of Inspection Services, and he's going to talk about permitting, plan review, and all those good things. So, Ray.
Good morning. I'm Ray Obraki. I'm the relatively new Chief of Inspections for City of Rockville after 23 years with Baltimore City, where I served as the fire marshal for the city. So to give you a brief overview of the Inspection Services Division, we issue over 4,000 permits every year, conduct about 13,000 inspections, and review over 900 plans. We do that with about 18 or less people every year. So there's a lot of work, there's a lot of development. Permits and inspections have steadily gone up every year since 2009. So it's a challenge to keep up with the work, but we're glad to, because that means there's economic development in the city, which is good for everyone. Although we serve a regulatory role, our philosophy is as a business partner more than a regulator. We want to partner with you rather than be a regulator of you for the mutually beneficial goal of code compliance. It's good for business to be code compliant. So we've implemented a couple things, and we are implementing things to make the permitting process as painless as possible. Susan had touched on online permitting, which we are still working out the kinks. We want to make sure that the website works before we make it live. As you can see, that could be an issue. It's going to start small and expand. We have started a fast track program that Susan had also mentioned. Right now, phase 1 is dealing with small projects, usually residential in nature, but that can impact business if you are a contractor who does residential home improvements or new construction. We have a quick start program, which is a little different. That affects commercial properties exclusively. This allows for interior demolition and interior framing of a structure that's still under plans review. So instead of a project going completely cold, you can do something while your plans work their way through the process. We also, one of our strategic goals is to reduce the number of resubmissions. When you submit plans to us, we get those approved the first time you submit them, not time after time. And we're encouraging in that effort pre-submittal meetings. So if you're going to submit plans, we want to set up meetings with you if you're available to talk about questions you may have. Believe it or not, architects aren't always concerned with the building and fire codes as much as we are. A lot of them, not all, really focus on the aesthetics of the plan or the maximum use for it. So that's why that's our function, is to sort of drill down on the building codes and fire and life safety codes. So we would urge you to set up pre-submittal meetings, pre-construction meetings, initial review meetings. This way, when you do submit plans, they are correct the first time, and there's not this ping-pong back and forth. The one thing I did want to talk about is occupancy permits. There seems to be a little bit of confusion as to the purpose of those and common problems we face. Occupancy permits are basically, you need to apply for them every time a space changes use or changes owner or changes tenant. The purpose is that the code constantly updates itself every 3 to 5 years. So we want to make sure that the property stay current. If you get into a property this year, you would be under the 2012 codes. If you're there for 20 years, you are still subject to the 2012 codes. If you change the use or change the tenant or owner, that property needs to be updated. It's the only way to update the codes without, if it weren't for occupancy permits, the only way codes would be updated within the built environment would be if only in new construction. And these codes apply to existing construction as well. Common problems that we face when it comes to occupancy permits is that people want to use spaces that weren't originally designed for their purpose. I'll give you a prime example. In Baltimore City, there was this trend towards turning old banks into nightclubs. And I can't think of two more diametrically opposed design functions. I mean, we have a bank that was designed to keep people out and keep the money in, as opposed to a nightclub, which is meant a lot of people can get in quickly and a lot of people should get out quickly. So that's an extreme example. But we've had 7-Elevens turned into churches, or places of worship rather. So it's always a good idea to at least consult with us before you sign any lease, because you want to make sure your property is available to be used for your intended use. Even if the use doesn't change sometimes. I'll give you another example. We had a case where there was a daycare center that was an older daycare center, and it was subject to the codes of that time. And it had closed for about a year, and the person who owned the building attempted to re-rent it as another daycare center. Well, because of the occupancy permit, it had to be brought to the codes of the day. An unfortunate soul rented that place, signed a 3-year lease, only to find out they needed to put a sprinkler system in, a costly sprinkler system, to use it for their intended purpose of a daycare center. So it never hurts to at least talk to us before you sign any lease or commit yourself to a certain property, even if it's the same use, because that use may be, quote unquote, an ancient use that isn't allowed in that type of property anymore. Another common problem, less serious, but just another way of slowing up the works, is when you submit plans to us, we always need 3 copies of the plans, and they have to be signed and stamped by an architect or an engineer. A lot of times we kick plans immediately right back if they're not signed and stamped, and this could take a day or two to obtain that stamp. So that's just a quick way to save yourself a little bit of time. I will accept any questions generally from the group here after I'm done, but any specific code questions, I have my construction code supervisor, field inspections, Rob Perky back there, and also my plans and permit supervisor. He oversees all the plans review. Tim Deal back here for any specific code questions. Another common problem we face is when you are expanding your business. You have a building, let's say you want to expand to another floor or increase the space on a floor that you're already renting. Occupant loads, people really don't think about. We want to make sure that the amount of people you put in a certain area can exit safely. A lot of that is determined by square footage of the property. But then when people, they calculate the square footage and say, oh, I can have X number of people, but then they have a choke point on their exits, or they have a limited number of exits. So that's another reason why you should talk to us to at least do a pre-submittal review, so you can build the way you think you're going to build before you spend a lot of money on finalized plans or, lease agreements and that kind of thing. So occupancy load is not just a mere, well, here's the square footage divided by this multiplier or this divider. It is a multifaceted review, and that's another place where people get themselves sort of wrapped around the axle in our process, is they expect to be able to put this many people in a space on this one simple calculation when there's more calculations that have to be considered.
Rockville is an interesting place when it comes to environmental protection and sustainability. We take that stuff fairly seriously. We have a fairly expert staff that we have hired over the last 7 or 8 years. The Environmental Management Division was actually created in 2007 and has built quite a reputation, not only here in Maryland, but elsewhere in the Mid-Atlantic for a program run by a relatively medium-sized city. And it's helpful to know that backdrop when we start talking about individual programs. And just to give you a sense of where we've come, and by the way, the first 4 topics on the left there are the ones that we're going to cover. So we're going to hit the recycling program and commercial requirements to recycle, which there are some in Rockville. We're going to talk about the stormwater program, which affects both the building community putting a new building up, but also everybody else who owns or occupies a building, which I assume is many of you, even if you work at home. Talk a little bit about green buildings and green features in buildings being built or renovated in Rockville, and then finally talk a little bit about energy efficiency as well as the use of alternatives. But again, to do that backdrop, we have a 9-member residential board, kind of a board of directors, if you will, that are appointed by the mayor and council, called the Environment Commission. They think great thoughts about what the city ought to be doing from an environmental and sustainability perspective. I will give you a hint about their work. They were created, I think, in 2002. In 2007, they won a Presidential Environmental Volunteer Award, and the administrator of EPA actually came to Rockville and presented them with an award. So they are constantly pushing us to jump higher and leap better. In addition to the Environment Commission, the city has recently been rewarded for a lot of its work and recognized by some of our peers. We were the second community to receive a Maryland Sustainability Certification from the University of Maryland and the Maryland Municipal League, and that was just 2 years ago. We were the first urban area to receive a sustainability award from Bethesda Green and Bethesda Magazine. We are pretty well invested in green power ourselves. The city uses 60%, obtains 60% of our needs for energy from wind power, and has for 4 or 5 years now, and are always looking to do a little bit better. We have several energy projects in the works right now, and alternatives that we're thinking. At one point, EPA had ranked by per capita many of the communities around the country, and by capita we came out 11th in the nation. I think we've slipped a few places on the use of alternative energy. And then finally, just again to give you a sense of where the city is with this stuff, in 2012 we were identified top 3 recycling programs in the nation, not just in Maryland. And our recycling program is one of the places we're going to start off next. Like I said, as we go, ask any questions you have. So our current recycling rate is 52%, which is pretty good, better than many communities, not as good as we hope. We have a very innovative, extensive residential recycling, and I just want to give you a flavor for that and then talk about the commercial side. We recycle almost anything that's useful, all paper, all types of paper, all cardboard, all plastics. By plastics, I mean all plastics, hard plastics, soft plastics, newspaper sleeves, retail bags, bubble wrap, as well as hard plastics, food containers, rosin chairs off your patio, children's toys, anything that's made out of plastic is recyclable in the city. Question?
52% out of potentially recyclable, or is that 50%?
That's 52 out of the total waste stream.
So what's the total that could be recycled?
I think with our current program, we could probably hit around 60% if all the residents maximized their
All
recycling.
right, so they're really up in the 85% of potential.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're doing pretty good, all right.
And then, of course, we do all beverage containers and bottles and tin cans and aluminum cans and steel. We also recycle electronics. We recycle hazardous waste to the extent you can recycle that. For example, paint is a hazardous waste. So we'll go to people's homes and do curbside collection of all those materials. Yeah, question?
I have a question, Charles, about the city of Rockville recycling versus in Montgomery County. And the reason I'm asking is because I know that we're very good. I don't know how we compare to Montgomery County, but I know residents who are not familiar with what we are with commingling. Why is there a difference between what we do and the county does? Doesn't this stuff go all to the same place?
It does not.
It doesn't?
No. Well, and you lead right into my next point. Thank you very much. I'm glad we didn't rehearse because we might have messed that up. So, she's passing out a recycling for residential.
I know what we do. I'm just saying because I just know people that in
Yeah,
the county aren't
yeah.
doing what we're doing.
No, our list of recyclables are a little bit different. For the most part, there's probably a 95% overlap. We recycle some things the county does not. The county recycles at least one thing I can think of that we do not. The counties all go to a transfer station that if you're from this area, you might know is located just north of us off of Rockville Pike, just before you get to Shady Grove Road. Our material, first of all, a little bit more about our program. We provide residents with 4 different sizes of wheeled carts, and they can pick whatever size makes sense for their household. And the city itself, city personnel, it's not contracted out, city personnel come and collect. And then we sell our material for market prices, which is different than the county. If we gave our material to the county, they'd be happy to take it. But they wouldn't pay us anything for it because they'd turn around and sell it themselves. So we do sell it, and that money comes back into the program, and it's one of the reasons we have not raised the rates for this program in the last, I think, 7 or 8 years. In fact, we lowered the rates 2 years ago. So the county, and it's a single stream, so we give you 1 cart for refuse, 1 cart for recycling. County doesn't give a refuse cart. And anything that's recyclable that fits in the cart goes in the cart. If it's too big for that, you can set it by the cart at the curb. The county is still on what's called a dual stream, so you have to keep the paper separate from everything else. And they put it in 2 different places in the truck and keep it separated. So there are a few subtle differences, but for the most part, this whole area is doing really well in its recycling activities. I would score the city slightly higher than the county, but not by a whole lot. Yeah.
Question on the dual recycling with paper, is it ever supposed to be bundled and put in a separate?
I don't know if you actually physically have to tie it up. You just have to keep it separate on the curb, I think.
Okay.
So if you had a bin or a square container or something, you could fill it up with paper. The main reason to bundle it is because you would not want it to blow out of the bin, where ours has a clamshell top, and so it doesn't tend to blow out quite as easily. If you get enough velocity, you might have material flying out of your cart, but for the most part, no.
You commingle coated papers along with like newspaper?
Everything.
And that
This entire list goes in one cart. It's very simple for the residents, and as a result, it popped the recycling rate up quite a bit when we rolled it out about 5 years ago. So a little bit more on the commercial side now, having said that we do a lot of care and feeding and derive revenue from the recycling program. The commercial side has been in existence inside the city footprint since September of 2008, and it is in fact identical in this case to the county program. So there is a requirement in the city, for example, to, well, let me back up here a little bit before I get to the requirement. In this case, the city doesn't implement the commercial program. In fact, if you have been visited by an inspector, they would have shown you a county ID, because the county offered at the time we adopted the program, they offered to implement it for us, and they wanted it to be very similar, if not identical, to the commercial program that they're running, so that they could turn it over to their inspectors, and their inspectors wouldn't have to say, now where am I? Am I in Rockville or am I in the county? It all is implemented by the county's Department of Environmental Protection, or DEP, and in this case there is a recycling office in the Division of Solid Waste. And they are physically about 4 blocks from here over by the movie theater. Conveniently 3 blocks from our office. So we do see each other from time to time about these sorts of things. So now back to the requirement, if I could have the next slide. Sorry to keep you awake there. So at least 50% of the waste stream has to be recycled, and that's the same inside the city as outside the city. If you can do more, there's not a requirement, but an understanding that you would do more than 50% if you can. For example, if you were a printer, you might have a lot of things that you could do up until the inks, and it's not clear to me the inks are easily recyclable, but by volume or weight, you would probably get more than 50% of your waste stream that way. The county does conduct periodic inspections. At least once a year they try and get around, or every couple years at the least. There is a record-keeping requirement, most of which you could get from a hauler. So how this works is that the county licenses haulers, and so the business would contact its own hauler, who would come and provide some sort of container, a small dumpster, a roll-off bin or something, and would pick that up periodically. So there is a record to say what you recycled and which hauler you gave it to and how much that was. And they will turn around and tell you how much it is. So you don't have to, go out and weigh the dumpster every time you get collected. If you are a business of 100 or more, are any of you here with a business more than 100? You aspire to a business more than 100, right? There are special reporting and planning requirements for larger businesses. They have to actually do a waste reduction plan and a recycling plan, and then they have to submit an annual report about how that progress is going to the county. Yes, sir?
You're service-oriented and you don't actually have much in the way of waste. What's the requirement on record keeping and hauling? You have to hire somebody to haul away 3 sheets of paper?
No. In fact, if you're a home-based business, we allow you to put it in your home recycling cart. But if you are a larger bricks and mortar establishment, you probably do have more solid waste than 3 pieces of paper. This is the entire operation. This is the business end of it, as well as the front door where customers come in and out. This is the lunchroom where people may have soda cans and brown bags. So it all counts toward that waste stream. And if you have 3 sheets of paper, I would just bring it home. Let's see. The county does have a fairly large and robust technical assistance shop, and they will help you find a hauler and set up your program and evaluate your program and look at what you produce in terms of wastes and make suggestions long before they come and do an official inspection. Any more questions on recycling or solid waste removal in the area?
Do you have any shredding days for businesses across the line?
Excellent question. On the residential side, you can shred all the time and just take a bag of shredded paper and put it in your recycling cart as part of the commingled single stream. On the commercial side, you can shred, and it would be provided as paper to your hauler, and however they want to get it, they may ask you to separate. They may arrange for a commingle. So it really depends on your arrangements with whoever's picking your material up.
Do you have a shredding day?
We do not, because you can put it in every single week of the year.
You reams of paper and you don't have a shredder?
We do not offer shredding at large because all of our residents can shred and put it in the container every week. So we have not offered a commercial shredding day. There are such things out there, particularly right after tax time, as I recall. Yeah, Arlene just said PG County does sponsor those from time to time. They're out there. I've seen them. We used to, a long time ago, before this program rolled out, we had an electronics day and had cars lined up all over downtown to bring us computers and cell phones for a tractor trailer in our parking lot right here behind me. And since this new program, we haven't really had a need to do that because we'll pick that up every week. So if you buy a new computer, you can call us and we will show up probably within 5 days and take your old computer away, and it gets recycled, gets torn apart. Even the plastic housing gets reused, I should say, along with all the other materials. So moving on to the wacky world of stormwater. And there's at least one builder here. There are really two questions. Am I building a new building, and what do I have to do if, in fact, the ground is disturbed and there's potential runoff from the construction site? And then there is the post-construction, I'm occupying the building, there's grass all over, it's not a construction site anymore, but there is potential for other runoff over the lifetime of that building. And that both instances are addressed by Rockville regulation. Rockville turns out to have one of the first local stormwater programs in the state. Ours dates back 1978. I can tell you that the Clean Water Act didn't contemplate stormwater for another half dozen years. So our program is older than the federal program is. The state does now, at this point in its evolution, require the city to have a local program, and then they've defined what that means in terms of a regulatory program, an outreach and education program, an assessment of the impacts of stormwater, which is really urban water pollution. Virtually all of urban water pollution is related to stormwater in one form or another. We don't have, never did have, factories sending raw waste out into the stream. And we have 3 watersheds in the city. They're actually over 30 miles of flowing water. When people picture Rockville, they don't necessarily picture, you know, the Shenandoah Mountains. But in fact, we have, for our size, 13 square miles, we have quite a bit of flowing water. Part of it is isolated in greenways, and part of it runs through people's backyards, and in a couple instances runs through commercial areas' backyards. And so we need to be pretty vigilant in order to keep that safe and secure. If you are planning a new building, in addition to designing the building, there is a requirement to build in stormwater controls. We will review and approve that stormwater plan. There is a pre-construction meeting with the construction inspector from the city, who will go out and review the plan and talk about their protocol and approach and make sure there are no surprises, basically. And then they will periodically come visit, often at least weekly, sometimes daily, depending on what phase of construction. And as a general matter, we try and get out to open sites that have the potential for discharge before and after each significant storm. That way we can help encourage you to batten down the hatches before the 1-inch rain shows up and washes your site off. And then we can come afterwards and see how well you did. And we visited virtually every existing facility at least once, and I think we're about halfway through a second round. So Unless you're new to the city, you should have been visited and met one of our stormwater inspectors at least once already. The main goal, of course, is to keep the pollutants out of the waste stream or out of either the storm drain or directly into the waterway. And by pollutants, I basically mean anything other than the rain. All have a potential to adversely affect the 3 watersheds we have in the city. So basically it involves good housekeeping and some management practices, some vegetated cover. And fundamentally, if you do own one of these stormwater facilities that provides a first treatment to the stormwater after it comes off your building or off your landscaping, then there is a requirement in the city to maintain that over time. And the city will check and see if, in fact, it's being maintained and cleaned out.
Involved on this, you're talking about only if it disturbs the ground. If somebody puts a shed up without a foundation, does that count?
It does not. Yeah, you need to tear up the ground if you're just putting something on, or if it's a very small area and you're pouring a pad and it's done in a few hours and the shed's up, then you're okay. But if you're undergoing a major improvement to the property, that's the kind of thing you have to deal with. There's also an affirmative requirement to report any spill of any material. So if you have drums of raw material, for example, and it breaks on your loading dock, or your loading deck, I guess. That sounds like a piece of audio equipment. If it breaks in your property, it would be terrific if you could clean that up and let us know that it even happened. And then there may or may not be, depending on the size and the nature of the spill, a requirement for us to tell the state. If not, you still need to let us know, and we actually have a spill contractor on board who can be here in 20 minutes and will clean up the spill as well. There's a hint here. We'll bill you for it. But it's a reasonable price. So there are a couple of different ways to deal with it. Yeah, forget it.
I have a quick question about, I guess our sewage and our stormwater. Where does this all go? I mean, I know that I keep hearing we can't put things in the stream, we're trying to keep this. Where does all of our?
Good question. Where does the water go? Right.
Is there separation between the sewage and the runoff?
We hope so. On any given property, there are 3 pipes in the ground. They are very similar. From an engineering point of view, you probably can't tell them apart. In fact, if you go over to Town Center and look up in the rafters of the building, especially in the basement, in the parking area, you'll see 3 different pipes running throughout the garage. The first one is sewer, and that is collected by the city and pumped out of the city limits and presented to the Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission, WSSC, who in turn pump it through Montgomery County and parts of PG County and then discharge at Blue Plains in DC on the Potomac River, which is one of the largest wastewater treatment plants in the country. And it's mostly all of suburban Maryland and a little bit of Northern Virginia, actually, all flowing to that plant underneath the river in that case. The second pipe running through is the drinking water, and that's servicing all of the properties. So it comes in on drinking water and then it goes out in the sewer, but they're 2 different pipes, obviously. And then the third pipe in the ground, which most people have not thought much about over the years, but has become more popular the last 10 or so, is a storm drain pipe. And that is basically not going to any treatment. The city has, and there are private treatment facilities in the area, so the storm water on your property may get collected and taken to a settling pond or some other facility first, and then it's further discharged either into our storm drain or directly into a stream. But for the most part, storm drains, as you find them in the city, and there's a hint, the sanitary sewer has a manhole cover. It's about 400 pounds and you can't get in it. The storm drain is the one you see with all of the little ridges next to the road, and you can look down and see the water flowing and usually hear the water flowing. That's supposed to only be storm water, and it basically just goes straight into the stream with no treatment for the most part throughout the city. But there are 600 private property treatment units, and the city has another 200. and the state would like us to treat as much more of the city as we can possibly do as part of the Chesapeake Bay and Potomac River restoration processes. So that's where that's going. So all three of them have to be maintained. Yes, sir. 10. I don't have 10. So then to finish up in stormwater, you have all heard about the stormwater fee. The city has had one for 5 or 6 years now at this point. Unlike some other fees you may have heard about, this applies to every property in the city, regardless of ownership. There are other programs being created that are written up in the paper on a regular basis that deal with that have exemptions, and that's a problem, I think, because once you exempt somebody, everybody wants to know why they can't be exempted, and I would make the same claim. But Rockville's applies to every property owner. We have had good response, and there is an option if you're a commercial property to seek a partial offset if you are reducing the quantity or improving the quality of the stormwater through your own private system, for example, then you can get some of that rebated back to you, that fee. So that's kind of stormwater in the city as well. Any questions? Okay, then I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Erica to talk about some of the sustainability efforts.
Thank you, Mark. So I'll cover green building, energy, and how you can get involved. First of all, how many of you work in a building that you own in the city of Rockville? Anybody own a building in Rockville? Okay. Does anybody work at home in the city of Rockville? No? Okay. So there's 2 homeowners. And lease or rent a space in Rockville. So are some of you in Montgomery County that you actually work, or are you all, where's your place? You're all here? Oh, good. Well, I'm just trying to see what I can do to best serve you to show how you can take advantage of so many incentives to go green. So some things involve the Montgomery County, some of them involve Rockville, so we'll get started real quick. Anybody know what green building is? There's swag, so you better answer a question. Green building?
It's not blue or red.
Energy efficiency. Yes, what else?
It's made that way, but it has components in the construction that are energy reduction.
Yes, all of those things. So it's designing, constructing, operating a building in an energy efficient, water conservation, also promoting human health, safety, and health and temperature. Your occupants want to be comfortable. So that's all part of green building. They want to breathe fresh air. And all those other components. So the City of Rockville has a green building program, and the Chamber of Commerce, and Andrea's here today, has actually helped us with several aspects of developing that green building program. First of all, there's requirements. If you're building or constructing a new building or an addition or changing a building, there are requirements in the building code to go green. Ours are a little more flexible than Montgomery County, because Montgomery County is our neighbor. They require you to have a LEED AP, which is Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, so you need an expert on your team to help you design and build that building. And it gives you flexibility to work with the U.S. Green Building Council LEED program to pick and choose what makes sense to you. What do you want to do for energy efficiency, for water conservation, for lighting controls, for how you breathe and HVAC systems in there. So that's the basis for buildings, and if it's 7,500 square feet or 50% of that building you're renovating, you have to do some green building requirements. But a lot of buildings in Rockville are existing. So we have, do you want me to do this? Either one? Okay. Thank you. So the mayor and council adopted a green building incentive program to help existing buildings go green. And so it's really a tax credit that's issued like a rebate. And if you go through the LEED for existing buildings, operations and maintenance green building program, it's a rating system. You get third-party certification. You can come in and we can give you a rebate on your taxes for that. And that was something the Chamber of Commerce helped us develop. And this is the first year we're issuing rebates. We've issued $40,000 in rebates already, and we're looking to future years as the program grows. So what that means is if you're a building in Rockville and you look at energy efficiency, you look at water conservation, you use renewable energy, you can either install solar panels, or you can buy it through renewable energy certificates, or you can find a supplier that buys it, pretty much comparable to what you're paying Pepco already. if you do stormwater management, sustainable landscaping, if you work with your employees for alternative transportation, so they're not driving single occupancy vehicles, that gives you credits. Recycling, we already know that in Rockville you have to recycle, so you get credits for that. And sustainable purchasing and green cleaning. Which the And in addition, because you're in Rockville and Montgomery County, you can take advantage of 2 tax incentives. So Montgomery County has it for new construction and existing buildings, so you can do a percentage of your property tax, you can get a refund from that. And then in Rockville, you can do the existing buildings program. So if you receive that LEED certification, what you've invested in that building, a percentage can be refunded every year. So if you, there's different levels, silver, gold, and platinum. If you reach silver certification, you get 5% of what you've invested per year over a 5-year program. And that looks like, if you can push the button. Oh, it's the next slide. But I just wanted to point out a couple of things. You must you must pay taxes to Rockville. So this doesn't really work for nonprofits because we refund your taxes. So if you're not paying taxes to us, we're not paying you to work in the city. You also need to look at your energy and keep your energy performance up for the 5-year period, and we require annual reporting to that. And you need to document that you've tried to use local businesses. So there's an application procedure to see how we're reinvesting and growing our local businesses for that. And then there's also 3 out of 6 priority credits. Are you looking for energy efficiency, water conservation, stormwater, landscaping practices to help, and transportation, helping things that help other Rockville property owners? And so what that looks like is if you achieved LEED Silver certification, that's a 5%, and if you invested $400,000 in your building to improve energy efficiency, you did HVAC upgrades, window upgrades, water conservation upgrades, you've instituted a green cleaning program, you've done other measures to improve your greening, you would get an annual tax credit of $20,000, and over the 5-year program, you'd get $100,000 back. So if there's any banks in the room that are working with commercial property owners, and you'll know that this is an incentive available to those owners too, so that there could be other aspects in addition to the energy savings that they could benefit. We had a LEED Gold, and they invested $40,000 upgrading their light bulbs, doing some chiller replacements and other things, and they received $40,000 this year, and they will get it over a 5-year period for $200,000. So this gives you an example of how it pays to go green. Next. Yes. So you're lucky. But if you're not ready to go through the whole, it takes a lot of investment to do that. You need some.
You're getting taxed by both, so
yeah, you get taxed by both, so you get a rebate by both. So if you're not ready to do all of that, and if you just want to look at energy efficiency, and this applies to homeowners and commercial property owners as well. Pepco has rebates. Does anybody here have had a rebate for a Pepco for a home energy audit or any improvements? All right, 1, 2, 3. So there's 4. And if you haven't done it, at least for the next year, the same program. And it's a pretty good way to do any HVAC upgrades, lighting improvements, and other things. Well, Pepco has a whole program for small businesses, retail, a whole slew of things. I'm not going to get into the details. But if you're a small business and don't use a lot of energy, they'll come in and help you with that, and they'll walk you through and do an audit for you. So that's kind of a limited investment on your part, and you can benefit from that. Also for green power, as Mark said, we're 11th in the nation for green power, and I think the Chamber's worked with Rockville businesses before for purchasing. Instead of just purchasing, you can choose who your supplier is, and they pull together Rockville businesses with clean, yeah. So that's another option. And what you buy in green power, we report to EPA, and that's how we get our numbers. Or you can install solar panels too. And there are incentives for that. So the Maryland Energy Administration is the state agency responsible for energy, renewable and energy efficiency, and they have a loan program for businesses. It's called the Jane Lawton Conservation Loan. So if you want to make investments in your business, you can get a loan for that. They also have commercial clean energy grants. So if you want to do solar hot water, geothermal, there's tools and resources to help you do that for your business. And there's also a clean energy production tax credit. So there's lots of different resources to help you go green. You just have to go through and navigate the process. So a little bit simpler is get involved. And this is where you get fantastic swag if you want to take a water bottle. So This is the Tap It program. And it is a national program to promote clean, sustainable water. Instead of using disposable water bottles, if you take your water bottle and fill it up at any business, you can fill it up for free with clean, sustainable tap water. And businesses can get involved in the program and just register the information in your bottle. You can register your business, and they'll show up on an app, and it shows up on their website, and it helps promote your business, because it's another way of getting your word out and showing that you're a green business. So all you have to do is register and say, hey, I'll provide people who come in with a water bottle and they can fill it up for free. And you might think, what's it going to cost me? Well, I can fill up this water bottle over 1,000 times with tap water for $1, so it shouldn't cost you anything. So that's an easy way to get your name out there for going green. Another thing is Adopt a Stream. The City of Rockville operates Adopt a Stream program. There's over 40 stream segments available for adoption. We only have 5 left, so get them while they're hot. And what they do is a business or a community group or a school can volunteer to clean up that stream segment for at least twice a year, and we'll provide the gloves and the trash bags, and we help you take away the trash. And the next cleanup day, that's kind of the annual Potomac Watershed Cleanup, and that's on April 5th, 2014. So if you want to set up a group, contact us, and you can do a cleanup. The next thing is the Environment Commission, so that's 9 appointed members, and Mark talked about that, and they have monthly meetings. They also help us with programs like setting up our green building regulations and things like that, and there's separate committees, so you can get involved in that. And there's Environmental Excellence Awards. So we like to nominate and recognize individuals, students, businesses, buildings in the city that go above and beyond for greenness. And if you know of one, or if you are one, I have some applications available. And if you apply by March 3rd, you can get recognition for Earth Day, so another promotional opportunity for your business. And the Rockville Rewards program is another option to kind of do sustainable purchasing and sustainable local buying. And last but not least, if you want to put out your green business to the state of Maryland and Montgomery County, there are a couple of other options. There's the Maryland Green Registry, and that's the symbol on the top, and that is free. And if you implement 5 green practices and kind of upload your application, and you show that one of them is a measurable item, saving X kilowatt hours per year, recycling how many tons of waste, you can get your name on the map, and they promote your business as a green business in the state. In addition, the Montgomery County has a green business certification program as well. This is a little bit more rigorous. You have to do an application. It's for offices, retail, and landscaping. There is a fee for that application, and they have to implement various measures in policies, green purchasing, waste reduction, pollution prevention, energy efficiency, stormwater and water use, and transportation. And they review that application with you. They go out to your site and they verify and certify you as a green business. And then you go on their website and they publicize your business. Sometimes you might see them on the buses. They publicize some of the businesses that have been awarded on the buses. And I think that they are beginning to have in their procurement code some type of incentive or a way to acknowledge that and have the government contracting go through the green businesses through the certification program. So there's definitely lots of different tools to be part of the green building in Rockville. So that's just our contacts if you have any questions, and enjoy the rest of the program. Thanks.
We have a few business cards if you want to follow up out on the outer table where the name tags were. And otherwise, where the
Yeah. Thank you. If you have any questions, as Mark and Erica said, the contacts are outside, so please feel free to contact them, call them with any questions anytime in relation to the business, and perhaps somebody else's business who you think may benefit from some of these excellent programs that the city has. It's going to be in this little stand right here. Right. Excellent. Let's take a couple of minutes while our police department actually just said, oh, fantastic. So let me introduce you guys our fantastic police department, and would like to introduce our chief, Terry Treshuk, and he probably will go ahead and introduce his staff this morning.
Sure. Thank you. Either or. We'll go. All right, good morning. How are you? You're just getting inundated, right? Well, we're going to be quick for you, but First, we want to make sure everybody did sign in, right? We had a little issue last week. You know, we're darned if we do and darned if we don't. If we don't go and patrol that, then all the people that go to court take up all the space at the parking lot, and then we get hollered at. And then when people come to City Hall and they forget to sign in, we do what we're supposed to do, then we get hollered at on that end. So we're just hollered at all the time about this stuff. We're going to do a brief overview. This is Corporal Ken Matney, our Community Service Officer. Tom Howley, who is in our code enforcement, and Sergio Hurtado is over here. We're going to go quick because I know you've got a whole group of things to do, and we'll just run right into our program. Where'd you run away with the other mic? Only because I'm a walker. Okay. Well, as I said, my name is Terry Treshik. I'm with the Rockville City Police Department, and we just welcome you, and I'm hoping you're having an enjoyable time listening to all of this. We're going to give you a brief overview of the police department and concentrate on what we can do with you and for you in the business community as your public safety entity. A brief presentation. Ken, go for it. That's our motto, and it's the motto of everybody in the city. Yeah, every department in the city has a mission statement, and we're going to go quickly through this for you, but ours is just to ensure that to promote the community's safety, safe and orderly movement of traffic as much as we can in this city. It's very difficult. And seek solutions to any problems that creates fear or threatens the quality of life in the city. Being business people, residents of the city of Rockville, the quality of life is the most important thing that we can have, and the quality of life is the willingness of people to move into our community, the willingness of businesses to be here, and the willingness of outside people to come to our community to shop and recreate. So that's really important to us, and one of our basic jobs is to make sure that that works for you. Go right ahead through that, Ken. We have value statements just like everybody else. I'm just going to go quickly through that. Philosophy of service delivery is that we're here to serve the public and the community. When we talk today, you're going to find the police department is very little bit different than other police departments. We run a myriad of other types of programs that may be of value to you, but it's interesting to hear all the things we do. Of course, one of the programs we do that you all love is, I know, is our photo speed radar and our red lights. Everybody loves those programs. There's a reason for those, and they really work well. Go ahead, Ken. Who's gotten a ticket here? And I'll be the first to raise my hand. Who's gotten more than one ticket? I'll be the first to raise my hand. See? It works. It works. The hard part is that I got one of them in a cruiser, and I had no excuse. You know, it was terrible. Police department is divided into 4 different organizations. We're just going to go briefly through this because I think it's important. The Office of the Chief of Police, Field Services, which is all the police officers in uniforms and marked vehicles that are out there. They're the ones that are out there handing calls for service 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The Special Operations Bureau are the police officers that you normally don't see. They're the police officers that are in plain clothes. They may be investigators. We have a street crime unit. We have people that don't look like police officers, so that when they're working out there, we're hoping that you're calling in on them because they don't look like they look suspicious. But we have people that dress like that for a reason, and they're in our Special Operations Bureau. We have an Administrative Services Bureau because the police department is the 3rd largest department in the city. We have to deal with our fiscal end of it. The police department, go right through that, is, go right past that one. And these are just the different visions of the Field Services Bureau. Go ahead, Ken. Special Operations, and we're going to swing back to these, and Administrative Services. If you just run back to mine for a second. The police department is an integral part of the police of the city. It has a budget of about approximately $11 million. It has 59 sworn police officers and 35 civilian personnel. And that's a large number of civilian personnel compared to the number of officers in the police organization. We'll talk about that because we do, as I said, a myriad of other things. In the Office of the Chief of Police, we have media relations planning, community services, chaplain, neighborhood services, which is actually our animal control. That's one of the things we do in the city. We do animal control, and it falls under the auspices of the city. Not only is it registration and licensing of animals, but it's handling calls for complaints about animal issues in the city, from deer to coyotes to, frankly, dead animals on the street. As part of public safety, the police department, and we have people that are trained specifically to clean up after the animals that are on the street, or frankly in the city with the quality of service that we have. If it happens at your home and you have something in your yard that you need to be removed, the city does it. We look at that as an issue of public safety because it's important that disease doesn't get spread by things just laying in the roadway. It's a very different philosophy than other areas. Some just say let nature take its course. We don't in the city, and this is a thankless job, but these guys are out there every day doing this, and it's a tough job, especially when they're picking up 200, 250-pound deer all the time around here, because we do have a large deer population, as you know. Crime analysts and accreditation. We're an accredited agency. We've been accredited since the early 90s. We'll talk about that a little bit later. What that means, we meet professional standards around the nation. We're very proud of that fact. We were the 289th agency in the United States to be fully nationally accredited. And we've held that accreditation for 7 times 3. So we're going on into our 21 years of being accredited over this next period, which is very important to us. It's very similar to an educational facility or to a hospital that you meet professional standards and you get accreditation. It's good for the community, it's good for us, and frankly, it's good if there's any litigation out there that we can show that we're meeting the best practice standards of the United States. Go back to that. That's when I had brown hair. I just want to say, I've forgotten what that looked like. All right. All right, next one. Yeah, I know. It's darker than what I have now. Patrol is just the people, once again, out on the street. They have 5 patrol teams. We work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. We handle all the special events. We do all the contract overtime when one of the businesses or there's special events around. We do the photo enforcement and the canine program and the traffic unit in the city. These are the people that are geared specifically for going out and handling traffic issues, concerns, problems that we have throughout the city. Major Michael England runs that division. Go ahead, Karen. Special operations, we do criminal investigations. Like I talked, that's the guys in suits and ties that go out and do the follow-up investigations. The street crimes unit, the people that don't look like police officers that are working out there. We're charged and responsible for Homeland Security emergency preparedness review. In the city of Rockville, we handle all of the planning. We're the liaison with Montgomery County and the Washington area for our Homeland Security issues and emergency preparedness. We do programs for businesses and for residents. We talk about emergency preparedness. We're talking about being safe in place if something occurred, what you should do. The first 72 hours is very extraordinarily important in an emergency, either a man-made or a natural disaster, because frankly, you're going to be on your own for the first 72 hours. So as a business person or as a resident in the city, if you would like us to come in and talk to your staff about emergency preparedness, Homeland Security, how you should be prepared, we'd be very happy to do that. We even talk about the things that you should have in little go bags in your cars or at home, because things do happen. Now, we live with the heartbeat of the world, Washington, D.C., 13 miles away. We could have man-made disasters, but normally around here we have the natural disasters. We have the ice storms, we have the snowmageddon, we have the derechos, now we're having tornadoes. The world has changed. And we get impacted by that, and our job is to make sure that you're safe and secure and that we liaison with Montgomery County to make sure that we're all trying to help everybody at the same time, that there's proper resources out there, there's proper support, there's proper shelters for people that don't have food and power and water. But if something did happen, if there was a derailment if you have a business near one of our the railroad or the metro and there's some sort of derailment or some sort of gas leakage and things like that, it would be important for you to know what you should do and what you can do. So we offer that service to all of you. We'd be very happy to come out and talk to you and your staff just about that. We do parking enforcement too, by the way, in case anybody haven't seen those red tickets that go out there. And actually, that's good for the business group. We just changed, if you don't know, we have a little over 700 parking meters in the city, and we just changed the system that you no longer have to go out and put your quarters in. We changed it to that you can pay through your credit card, much like they can do in Bethesda. We're hooked to the same system that we have all through Montgomery County, and that's really a good value thing for your customers, especially if you have a restaurant or something and people are running a little bit overtime. They can just take your phone out and put extra time on the meter where they are, and we think that's a very good thing. We just got the program in. We worked on it for 3 years to try to get it through some of the contractual things that have to happen on that. But it's all in play in the city, and it's working quite well right now. Okay.
If you were already registered in Bethesda, do you need to re-register?
That's a great question, and the answer is no, you don't. You just use your same number. If you're already registered in Bethesda, can you use that same registration up here? And yes. Okay. Administrative services is just the fiscal end of our place. Like it's important. You know, we manage the money that the city provides to us for the police department. With an $11 million budget, 94% of that is personnel costs, because that's what you have to pay for the people that are out there doing the things they do. It's also our support services, our warrant control intern program, community enhancement and inspectional services, and we'll talk briefly on those as Tom gets going. Go ahead, Ken. That's just a breakdown of the department, 94.5 people total. We're going to give you a copy of this. It's important that your police department reflects the community, and one of the things every good police department tries to do is reflect the makeup of the community. We're working hard at that here, but it's a real tough battle, frankly. Sworn officers, we have 4 females, 55 males, and that's the breakdown of ethnicity: white, black, Hispanic, and Asian. Civilians, 19 females, 18 males, breakdown. We work real hard on that. We're in a highly competitive phase, especially in the police world, for minorities to try to hire them. And one of the things, we're always in competition with other agencies. We'll try to hire someone, and another agency will tell the person, well, we'll hire you, but we'll give you $2,000 in moving costs. Or they'll say, well, we'll give you a car right away, and things like that. So we try to be very competitive on that nature, but it's extraordinarily difficult. And we're frankly competing quite heavily against Montgomery County, Gaithersburg, Prince George County all the time. Yes, ma'am. Within the agency, we do really well. We have probably 10 or 11 officers and civilians that speak different languages, and the different languages, we have several Chinese dialects, Korean, Spanish, French, sign language, which is important. It's a very important one. Predominantly Farsi. We have an officer that speaks Farsi. We work very hard on trying to get people that can speak a different language, and every day of our life we're faced with that fact. Now, what we have in the city and what we use when the officers aren't on the street, that we use a language bank out of California. We're contracted to them, and we can make a telephone call for any language, and then we can do that. But when when the county needs someone and they don't have someone working, we send our officers. When the county has someone working and we don't have someone, they send their officers to help each other on the language barriers. It's extraordinarily important. That's a great question. Go ahead, Ken. Community-oriented policing. What that means is that our whole philosophy, for as long as we've been around, is that we're a part of and not apart from the community. Years and years ago, when I first became a police officer, over 40 years ago, we were told that we're the knights on the white horse on the castle, and we ride down and protect the community and save them. For people that are old enough for Jack Webb, just the facts. Well, that's not the way the world works. What we found out, that you have to be a part of the community, you live in the community, you have to know the community. Every different neighborhood, every different business area has a different problem, and some have similar problems. You need to know how to face those problems by talking with the community, by interacting, and making sure that you understand what their concerns are and how we can work on resolving them together. The whole concept of community policing is don't let repeat issues keep on happening. If there's a specific area where there's a problem near a high school with speeding cars or illegally parked cars, address the issue. Don't just go out there and give tickets to it. Try to resolve the issue so that it's not there again. If you have a corner establishment that has a lot of disorderly conduct or driving after drinking, resolve the issue. Don't just go out and give tickets. And you resolve the issue through a myriad of factors, not only the police, but bringing in the liquor control, bringing in code enforcement, part of our department, to make sure that things are done correctly. So the whole concept of community policing is working with the community to resolve issues, not to have repeat offenses occurring all the time. Goals of the police are always prevention of crime and disorder and preservation of the peace, and these are just the common goals of every police department in the United States. Go ahead, Ken. And then the only way we do it is through crime prevention, which means catching the bad guys, crime repression, which really means educating the public and you and your businesses and your staff on how you can protect yourself. Regulation of non-criminal conduct, traffic control, crowd control at large events, special events. We handle all the special events for the city on the crowd control and public safety and security. Provision of services, providing services to people such as resource referrals for our victim advocate, through our crime analyst, through our code enforcement, extraordinarily important. Before I came to Rockville, I worked up in Connecticut, and one of the services we provided was that we didn't have paid fire departments in the communities that I worked in. So the police were always the first on the spot to, whenever there was a medical, and we had to be very well versed in medical, but we also had to be well versed in how to deliver babies. And aside from the 3 that I have, I've delivered 3 myself. None down in Rockville, because I'll tell you that Rockville and Montgomery County, the fire and rescue service here are unparalleled. They are the best in the United States by far. They're really great people. And protection of personal liberties, most important, that we want to make sure that everybody's constitutional rights as afforded, that all of us are living in the United States, are protected. That's your freedom of speech, freedom of movement, the freedom to do why you want to live in this community, in this country. Our goal is to improve the livability factor of people. And these are all the different things we do, and this is the crux of it for you. These are the different community-oriented policing services that we try to do for people. We have a downtown Rockville patrol. We have a business watch. Business watch is very similar to our neighborhood watch, and Corporal Matney handles that. He works with local businesses and tries to set up, and we go out and work with people. We visit to try to find out if there's any issues in your area that we can help resolve for you, and also to get you on a list where we can make sure that you're made aware of issues that may be occurring in your community or nearby that may impact you. We do child identification, Citizen Police Academy. I want to just push on that a little bit. You have the Business Academy. We do the Rockville Citizen Police Academy for anybody that's really interested in law enforcement. It's a 9-week program. We've been doing it since 1991. We had a little over 47 people in our last class. Started with about 55, 47 graduated, and you learn all about the police world and what we do, and we have different people come in and talk to you about why we do the things we do, and we bring in some people from the court system so you can understand where it goes after it comes from the police into the courts. It's a pretty neat program. We also do decision making. We bring you into the role play of a police officer and let you make decisions on a photo screen. It's actually a shoot-don't-shoot situation where you have to talk to people and see how it is and how difficult it is at times for people to make split-second decisions out there. And we get people that come to the program and say, well, I don't want to do that part, I want to do everything else. They're the ones that go to that part of the program, and 3 hours later we have to drag them out of the class because they just love it so much. They just love being there and trying to do all of this realistic stuff. We have neighborhood watch, safety talks, the Rockville employees assisting. We do notifications within the community. If we're looking for a special car, we'll tell our public works people what we're looking for. Speed indicator, speed watch program, safety seats, safe routes to school, officer tunnel. If you haven't seen that, that's a mannequin, not a dummy, but a mannequin that we put in police cars and put it out there, because what do? You do the same thing I do when you see a police car on the side of the road, right? You slow down. Yeah, I know I do. And so we put a mannequin out there. He doesn't wave back, and I've gotten complaints on that. I've actually gotten complaints on that. But what we've done in the past is that you put the mannequin out there for about 2 hours, 3 hours, and then you switch it out and put a real police officer there. So that makes a little bit of an impact on people, because they think, oh, that's only that dummy in the car. Well, then all of a sudden the car lights up and comes after them. So that's part of life. Other programs, it's just important. These are all the different programs that we have. Business notification list is one I wanted to get to for you. It's awfully important, emergency preparedness. We actually go around, and Ken leads the battle on that, but we have officers from our town center patrol and our streetcar unit. We actually go out to businesses, and we ask you to fill out a confidential information sheet. What that means, if something that does occur in your business at night, we have a list of at least 1, 2, or 3 people that we can contact, so that in case something, say a window was broken or something happened around there, a water main broke nearby, or you needed to do something. Been a very successful program. We try to keep it updated as much as possible, but we like to talk to community business members like you to let you know that that program is out there for you, and if you need it and if you want to use it, we think it's an important thing to do. There's nothing worse than us finding something in the middle of the night and we don't have anybody to contact to have them come down and help secure their business. So we think it's a pretty important program.
Just to make it easier, we actually have that as a green line form.
And we do. It's on our website, and you can fill it out, and it goes right to us, and it is a confidential form, and we put it into our master book, and it works. Okay, Ken. As I said, that's okay. We're an accredited agency, and we're all, and that's very, very important. It's professional excellence. We've been in this thing since '94. And these are the other criminal justice agencies within the city. It's an interesting city with our 14.68 square miles, 62,000 population. Now we have the county police, but they've moved out. They went to Gaithersburg. Montgomery County Sheriff's Department is here. Metro Transit Police comes through here. Maryland State Police are just outside of our border on 7 Locks Road. NIH Police actually have a training facility here in the community. Montgomery County Detention Center, Amtrak Police, County Park Police border us on the Rock Creek Park. Then we have District Court, Circuit Court, and the Family Justice Center. Rockville is full of criminal justice things. We're very happy during the week we have all the courts here because bad guys know that, and any given day of the week we can have 200 or 300 police officers going in and out of court, so we're very happy with that. What can we do working with you? The most important thing we can do is offer our services to you, to talk to you, to your staff, about any issues or concerns you have. We offer programs on how to, once again, emergency preparedness, be safe and secure in your business. What to do if something occurs in your business. We offer programs to you about that. We can come in and do what we call a CPTED program, CPTED, Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design, Business Watch, Business Check. What this program is, we'll come into your business and we'll do a complete security survey for you and provide you with a fairly comprehensive report of recommendations of what you can do to make your building or your business or your shopping center more secure and hardened. It comes from the lighting, it comes from the environmental design of what bushes should be around there, what have you. We do it free of charge, we do it for homes, we do it for businesses, we're very happy to do it for you, okay? We can offer and once again, we do all sorts of programs. We've actually done programs for local businesses on self-defense and awareness. If you have staff that feel uncomfortable walking to their cars or wherever they park, or they feel uncomfortable about anything, there's actually Ken and I come out and we'll do self-defense programs and self-awareness on how to protect yourself and how to be aware of your surroundings and what you should do. We provide you with some training in it and some tools in the trade that you can use. And we find that very helpful to you. Do you have any questions? Yes, sir. I'm rushing because you got other people.
On the online application, register. My business is just outside Rockville line. Would it apply? No, but Montgomery County has the same system. I don't know if their form is online. Depending on the district you're in, all their community service officers station, they should be able to set you up for it because they have an after application. So same thing applies to all the programs.
No, we will be happy to come out and do a security survey for you. Absolutely. We do that quite a bit, and we actually do a lot of presentations at other schools because for whatever reason the county can't get there. We're very happy to send Ken out to do your security survey for you.
The other question is, any youth program, ride-along, things like that?
Absolutely. We have a ride-along program, and we use it for our young people and adults. We think it's a very important program. We've done a Citizens Youth Academy, Citizens Police Academy for younger people, and we think that's a good thing to do. A lot of the youth programs are through the Rec and Park. They actually do that. But we do, the biggest thing we do is actually our ride-along program. We had I can't remember, our Boy Scout troop for the longest time, but it just, like anything else, it comes in waves and goes that way. We do a lot of reach out to the community, the youth through our school systems. We have a school liaison officer who works at Richard Montgomery High School, Rockville High School, Julius West, and they work very close with the kids, the young adults that we have there. We do programs at all the different nursery schools and preschools around. We do officer safety, stranger danger programs for them. And one of the things that we offer everybody is that we offer tours of the police department, because all the young people like to come there and they like to see their parents and or teachers go into the jail, and we lock them in there and then show them. They all like to see that part. So that's about the outreach we have on that. With the load that we carry in the city, it's a very busy place, and it's getting more busy all the time. We don't have a lot of staff to do any more than that. Great question, though. Any other questions? All right, I do have, I've got a whole bunch of brochures and things we're going to leave for you here on commercial security, and Tom's going to talk about, or Sergio's going to talk about their shop, which is code enforcement and landlord-tenant, which is extraordinarily important. We do have these if you ever wanted to put it into your business. We find that they're kind of fun, but you get a free ride in a police car if you take anything steal from this store, and it's compliments of the Rockville City Police Department. So we do have these if people want to have them. They're kind of, they're interesting to have around.
My tax dollar's giving this guy a free ride.
Well, it's going to be a free ride to our police department. We're going to give them a free ride to pay for their sins. Yeah, to pay for our sins. That's right. Okay. But if you have any questions of the police department, please feel free. Please take advantage of our offer to give programs to you. We think that's pretty important. Information sharing is really, really good. The business notification program is extraordinarily important. And just keeping in touch and letting us know what your concerns are is extraordinarily important all the way around. And we'll certainly leave all our information with Harmon all the way around. But let me get Tom up here to talk about code enforcement and what their shop does. As Tom comes up, the police department does policing, it does the communications, it does the photo speed, it does the photo red light, it does animal control. And about 6-7 years ago, we brought in code enforcement as part of the public safety aspect of what we do. And this is Mr. Tom Howley, and he'll talk to you about that.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As Chief said, my name is Tom Howley. I'm the supervisor of the Code Enforcement Unit. This is a group of 9 civilians who assist in ensuring our residents' public safety. A bit about my staff. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our staff secretary, Mercedes Delgado, who keeps us all in check. Also on staff, as Chief mentioned, is our landlord-tenant officer, Christina Casarella, who does a good job in mediating disputes between landlords and tenants of rental properties in the city, of which there is no shortage. She does a good job in protecting the rights of those involved and ensuring that all parties know their rights and responsibilities. It's often vulnerable persons that come to Christina for assistance, and she often leaves them with information about other resources that they can go to assist them, specifically social services. So I'm happy to have her on staff. It's a very busy office. She does a good job with it. I also have 6 field staff, 5 of whom are residential property code inspectors, and they are tasked with enforcing the city's property maintenance code. They do so in a couple of ways. They perform daily patrols of their assigned areas, and they also inspect all the rental properties within those assigned areas once every 2 years. That is, they inspect the single-family rentals once every 2 years. We also inspect all the multifamily dwellings, the apartment complexes within those areas annually in the spring. We're just getting into that now. The applications are coming back in. We'll get going on that soon. The 6th field inspector is Mr. Hurtado, who has come with me today, and he is in charge of commercial property inspections within the city. So he travels down Veers Mill, Rockville Pike, and wherever there are commercial districts, and also ensures that the city's property maintenance code is followed in that respect. I'll bring him up here in a minute. But as it's one of the things that I think is critical that the field staff do for the police department, Mr. Hurtado, as well as the other residential folks, is in keeping vacant property lists. The residential guys give me a list of all the vacant single-family homes in their areas, and Mr. Hurtado keeps a list of the commercial establishments and the shops that have closed. That information is given to me weekly. I provide that information to the crime analyst, Mrs. Hendry, of the chief staff. She provides a report, gives it to the chief, who disseminates it to our patrol teams. It's better to have the good guys know where these vacant properties are because the bad guys will find them. One of the other couple of other important tasks that Mr. Hurtado does with regard to public safety is he runs our hawker, peddler, solicitor program. Anyone that wishes to go door to door in our city has to have a background check performed on them. He takes in their applications. He has the background check run. A badge has to be prominently displayed on those that are going door to door in our city. So if you see someone without a photo ID with my name on it, tell them to have a nice day. Another public safety concern that Mr. Hurtado attends to is in towing. Whenever a police officer sees a disrepaired vehicle on a public street, or if it's in a junked condition, they ticket it and they provide Mr. Hurtado a report. After 48 hours, if the car remains, the vehicle is removed. So an attractive nuisance is therefore removed from our public streets. That's code enforcement briefly. I'm going to give Mr. Hurtado an opportunity to give a brief presentation as well before we're pulled off the stage here. Sergio?
Good morning. Mike here. I'm Sergio Hurtado. I'm going to stand over here because Corporal Matney left me. Yes, as Tom was saying, we do code enforcement. I do the commercial end of inspections. We're doing, it's small type, so I'm going to try to glance over a lot of this stuff that Tom talked about. We investigate complaints. We confer with owners, tenants, contractors to comply with the codes. We seek voluntary compliance. I mean, that's kind of our goal. We don't hit people over the head with the code book or the ticket book. We want to make sure we build a consensus about what the codes are and that there's an understanding about that. I also manage the towing program, as Tom said. So if there's an abandoned vehicle on the street, for our purposes, that means flat tires or expired license or bad tags. The city will put a sticker on it and give them 48 hours to take care of it. We also do that for your property, so if on private property. So if you have a tenant, for example, that leaves a junk car in the parking lot, and you don't have a towing agreement with an approved towing company, you can call us. We have a form that you fill out. You sign it's a release, essentially saying that this vehicle has been on my property. It's not my vehicle. Please have it towed. And we'll do the same process. We'll put the sticker on the car, wait the 48 hours, and if the person doesn't willfully remove the vehicle, we'll have it towed. The only caveat there is that the business owner pays for that tow. I believe it changes every year, but I believe it's about $98 just for a simple tow. Question?
So somebody goes and they do their job, they park the vehicle, maybe it's one of the utility trucks, whatever, Friday night. By Sunday night, it's gone if one of the tires goes flat?
If the tires go flat, someone would have to call us first.
All right. I mean, I could see a family going on vacation, they come back from Disney World, and you tow their car because one of the tires went flat.
Someone would have to call first. So typically,
So that's all it takes is somebody to call.
Yeah.
And make trouble for you.
right.
Okay.
But we'd always put a notification there first for the
48
car.
hours. Yeah.
Right. So the car would be on the street for longer than 48 hours usually, but before anyone would really call. So, but anyways, I have contact information. I have my business cards over there if you want to contact me. I want to go through some pictures because I think it makes presentations a little more fun. All right, so here's a picture. I don't know if you guys can see it. This is North Washington Street. Can anybody see what the problem is here? There's supposed to be a sidewalk here. There's a pedestrian in the street, and there's a ride-on bus right behind her. I don't know if she even notices. Yeah, so I don't even know if she knows, but I mean, this was during the Snowmageddon about, what, 3 years ago? And a lot of people had a hard time trying to get rid of the snow and ice, but my job is to go out and try to get with all the property managers and owners of businesses everywhere in the city. And big corridors like this, situations like this is what we're trying to prevent. Anybody see a problem there? It's just a truck, right? In a residential. This truck is actually, the owner lives at the house, but the reason why I bring this up is because we permit these types of vehicles on private property. So oversized vehicles, there's a permitting process, and we don't allow trucks that are over a certain weight. This example here is of an acceptable weight that would require a permit. So I wanted to just show that. Anybody notice that this is a little bit larger truck? Okay, well, we couldn't permit this. It's actually a 23,000 gross vehicle. Our max would be a 13,000, which is your typical 1-ton Ford 350. So something like this, like a flatbed, we just wouldn't allow. So just for your information, they can park in commercial districts, commercial areas. This regulation is about residential parking. So unless they're performing a service or at that property at that time, then they're not allowed. So only if they're doing a service. So like if you called for this guy to tow your car or something, you know, or moving truck, exactly. So those are okay. No permits are required for that. But outside of that, if you're bringing in your work truck and it's kind of large like this, you got to know that you got to find another place to park it. So
Private property ain't good enough.
right, residential parking of these vehicles are not allowed in Rockville.
Do you all give them ideas of where they can park their, some options for them where they can park their vehicles?
Yeah, I have a list of places where there is parking, even in the city of Rockville, like non-metered spaces that are out of the way, and there's also private lots. Yeah, there are private lots also that people can go and pay for a parking spot. So they have choices. So it's not.
I can see somebody getting upset though. They're talking about a $90,000 truck that they got to park somewhere they can't keep tabs on it. Vandalism, theft. Sounds like a real nightmare.
It can be.
The nightmare comes from the other side too, is that it's the community that complains about having a commercial vehicle parked in their community just like that in a front yard.
So being secure in your own property isn't as good as somebody else's not wanting to see it.
No, it's just that what you have to do is that if there's a feeling within a community that they want to change that law. You know, he's only the messenger.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
The guy's got to do his job. I know.
Yeah, if they need to change the law, then you need to approach the mayor and council about this, and we can look at it through the ordinances and through public hearings. And that's extraordinarily important. One of the things we try to do in Rockville is that we have some issues in areas of the community where there is no driveways, and people actually park on the street, and they park trailers on the street, which cause some issues, and we try to work with the community on that, but you still have people that say, this is what the law is, this is what they want done. So like anything in the world, the law is there based upon the majority that asked for that law at the beginning. Times change, evolution happens, revolution happens, and the best way to approach this is through a very documented way of going to the mayor and council, working with, is this a good thing anymore? Should this law still be here, or should we change this law?
No, you can see a business owner having a nightmare.
Absolutely.
As a resident, I would want that in park next
Well,
door.
and there's the crux of it. You get it from both
Well,
sides.
is your right to your own property trumped by somebody not wanting to see something? That would seem like a constitutional issue. That would ruin the
Someone had their hand raised over there. Passenger vans are okay. It's the commercial type of vehicles is what we're looking at. If it's for a commercial purpose and if it's a 1 ton, then it would require a permit. RVs are okay because it's not commercial. So it's more of a commercial ordinance. You can call me. I left some cards on the mantle over there. All right, just to finish up, this is kind of hard to notice, but this is a tree. It looks like a fine tree, but if you take a closer look, there's a big cavity in it. It was a huge tree overlooking a building and property, and things like that would come to my attention. Not by me driving around, but the forester would call me or someone would call me. This is just a picture of a vendor, a street vendor. I license street vendors. I license door-to-door vendors. So somebody comes knocking on your door, like Tom said, they should have a permit on their person. If they want to sell food on the street, they have to have that same permit. The city of Rockville has a rule that they can't be in one location for more than an hour. So that's kind of a unique rule in case anybody has a business that they're thinking about doing something like that. Like I said, there's more information on the web and also on my business contact. That's just a picture of this is an old building, a historic building that we've been working on with the owners to get corrected. Storm drain on a private property. Let's see here, an example of a junk car that I'd probably get a call about. And some strange sanitary arrangement that I had seen just last year at a hotel. Yeah, it was a storm. It was a storm drainage. It was strange. I don't know how long it's been there, but I wanted to throw that in there as your last slide. So if you have any questions, my phone number's on there. I appreciate the time and I thank you for your indulgence.